Alright, so welcome back. So here we are at the second part of database management, right? So first part we look at the introduction and the different parts and pieces. So this here now we're going to look specifically at the practical part, creating the database, creating the tables, and how we can manage and manipulate them, right? So here we have an example here before us, right? Database management. The database will keep track of patients staying at a hospital. Patient's info will be exported from the spreadsheet section. The database will also provide queries and reports. So remember last time I asked you to create a sheet like this, where I said that I wanted ID numbers, first name, last name, the first name and last name that is coming from the attendance complete sheet tree. And I wanted the address one. The address one will be the address, a street address. So 18 Mansfield Avenue, 12 Kingston Road. I'm just making up some address here. Don't even have to make sense. But along, well, it don't have to be an actual place, but as long as it makes sense. Alright? So I don't want Kingston too, because this is not a street address. So this would have to be something like Kingston Avenue. But you get the information, alright? So you get the gist of what I'm saying. So you will fix up that. The address two now will be the community. So it can be Salt Spring, Kiran. This is that parish, so it will know this one will be. So make up some information, right? So the address one, street address, avenue, drive, lane, street, that kind of thing. Address two will be the community, Willowdene, Salt Spring, Manly Meadows, Woolaba Bay, whatever your area is. And then the region is you can only have three regions here, so either Courtly, Bremard, or Louisville, just like we specified, alright? So that can be repeated for them, right? Again, just making sure you understand I only have 20 student persons here in my database. You are to have the full 30. So always remember that. Alright. So once you have this done, like what I asked you to do from last class, we can go ahead and we can start looking at creating our database. So the first question says, create a database called hospital admissions. Alright? So that's the first step. So we need to create this database. Bear in mind now, we're going to be using Microsoft Access. Microsoft Access will only work on computers that have Microsoft Office installed, meaning that this can only be a Microsoft Windows computer, or if you have an Apple computer that have Microsoft Office installed, then you should have Microsoft Access in that Office. All right. So in other words, it won't work on Android devices. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. All right. So if you have a phone or tablet working on that is Android based, Access won't work on it. So you need to get a computer, a laptop, right, and use it from there. Right. So in this case, I have Microsoft Office installed here. So I can go to my search here. So and I say Microsoft Access. I'm using an old version, 2010. It's not a problem. You can use 2010 up to 2021 if you have that. I'm just using an older version because of the specific laptop that I'm using. Alright, so this is how the icon is going to look, a big capital A with a key on it. This is the icon for Microsoft Access. Alright, so once I start that, I'm creating a new one. So I'm saying I want a blank database, and then I'm going to click create here. So once I create here, so the file is going to be created. Let me explain the difference. It's not like Microsoft Word where you can open a blank one and then you start work and then you save it where you want. The first step with Microsoft Access is to create the file and save it exactly where you want. Right? So if you know that you're not using your personal computer or something like that, the first thing that you want to do, you want to change your location. So change your location to your jump drive or wherever you might have it, you might want it stored. Right? In my case, I can save it in my documents. Right? Next, I want the field name. So remember it says here, so save it as hospital admissions. Sorry, I want a file name. So this is going to be my file name. hospital admissions. That's my file name, and I'm saving mine in my documents. Again, if you need to save yours on a desktop or to a jump drive, this is where you get to do it, because after this, wherever you save it here, so that's where it's going to remain, unless you're going to go back and look for it afterward and copy it to where you want. All right. Next, you will just click create. All right. So this is what your interface is going to look like. It's going to start up with a sample ID, a sample table here. I don't want to use that. I want you guys to work it from scratch. All right. Look a little bit different from what you used to with Word and Excel. So up here, so you have your home, create, external data, and database tools. So as we go through, you'll see how we use each one. All right. So let's look back at this, the question. So it says, in this database, create 3 tables: personal info, admissions, and payments, right? And then it gives you the information for each table. So for the first one, where it says, define the following fields for the personal info table. It says patient ID, title, first name, last name, address 1, parish, telephone number, email, right? In this case, you want to save these field names just like how they asked you to, right? So first thing we're going to do is create a new table. So when I switch back over, I can go to create, and I have the options here of how to create it, right? If I create the table using this one, it's going to give me a quick version of the table, but it's not going to allow me to manipulate the data types like what I want. So remember this term, the design view. So I want to create my table using my design view. All right, so I'm going to click that one, and it's going to bring me here where I can enter my field names and the data types. So let's look back. So these are some of our field names: patient ID, title, first name, last name, address, parish. So this is patient ID, then what? Title, first name, last name. First name, last name. Then address 1, parish, telephone number, email. Alright, so do it how I'm going to show you. I need to correct that. Address 2. I think the database that you have would have been updated, so this information would have been a little bit different. So the region, and then email. Alright? And you can see automatically they come up as text. All of them come up as text. So in this case now, you need to look through and identify how you want to, if you want to change these data types. So patient ID, should this be a text or a number? Remember, look at the example that we're going to be using. This is the patient ID, and as you can see, it has text and numbers in it. Alright, so the first one is like KB501. So you need to ensure that this remains as text. Title will be like Mr., Mrs., Doctor. So all of these can remain as they are. Telephone number, you might be wondering. Remember, telephone number, even though it's a number, telephone number look like this. It have a little symbol, a little dash here, so that is not a number. So because of that, that's a symbol. So because of that, you have to store your telephone number as text. Alright, so all of these can remain as text. Alright, good. So once this is done, click save. It's going to ask you what you want to save it as. here in the database it's specified what it should be saved as. So this is it, personal info table. This is the personal info table, and okay. This is asking if you want to create a primary field. Remember we were talking about the unique field, so yes, we need to do that. So our patient ID, that is going to be our primary field or our unique field. So to put the cursor in here, so in the field name here, patient ID, and then you click primary key up here. Once you do that, you should see a little key come up beside it that indicate that to the computer that this field will be used as your primary key or your unique field. Alright, and we can just close it now. I just save the command. Alright, so it's now saved as personal info table. Alright, so if I close this down here, you will always see it here. So everything that we're going to be creating, the tables and the queries, going to be coming up in our left tab here, right? So when they come up, you can close them with the X that's going to come up here, right? If you close the one up here, it's going to close the entire database, right? But as you open each item, it will come up here, so you can just close it back from the secondary close icon here, all right? Let's create the other table quickly. So the other table is asking for is the admissions, and it's asking for the patient ID, number of days, symptoms, meaning all three symptoms, and the ICU or our isolation field as well. Alright, so I'm going to create that quickly. Patient ID. Cough. What were the symptoms again? I don't remember. What were the symptoms? Fever, cough, respiratory problem. And respiratory problems. Alright. Next we have, this is one field, the ICU or the ISO. I think that should be it. So your patient ID is that. You can change this text now. This is where you have opportunity to change the text to for the symptoms, the yes no. Or you can make it remain as text and you just type in the Y or the N. Right? So in this case where we're going to be copying it from Excel, let me just let it remain as text, because I don't want it to conflict, because I'm copying it from Excel, bringing over, right? And then this table now, sorry, number of days should be number. Good. And then this one now is admissions table. So we identify our primary key by putting in the patient ID, primary key, so the key come up, so we're good. And we can save this now as admissions table and OK. So you see come up, so you see the admissions table come up. Good. So that can close And then finally now we have our payments table, which have payment, all 4 expenses. Alright, so let's do that one quickly. So use a design view, and we have patient ID, and then we have the expenses. So in my case, my expenses were bed, meal, medication, and equipment. So I had bed, meal, medication, equipment, and then insurance coverage total. Alright, so because I want to shorten this, I'm going to just, so you can type it over properly, but because I want to do this quickly, I'm just going to do it like this. So I have insurance coverage total amount to pay, and payment method. Alright, I think I have everything there. You type out yours, don't do it short like me, you will end up with problems and then you might not see what you went wrong. Alright, so in this case now, these are currency. So bed is currency, medication, and equipment is currency. Insurance is where you indicate what type of insurance you have or you are getting, so that can remain. And your coverage now, again, that is currency. Total is currency. And amount to pay is going to be currency. Good. You need to fix up these capital letter to start all the field names. And now we have put in a key. Oh, good. So this one was called payments table. So this is our payments table. Alright, so we can close this. So now we have the 3 tables that we're supposed to have, right? So now becomes a tedious part because now we have to populate our tables, right? So we need to open each table. This is admissions. So when you open it, let me do that again in case you didn't see. Just put the cursor over it, and you can right click and open, right? And it's going to bring up the table in the table view like this. So the table view now is where you can start entering your data, right? So let's be clear. This is your table view that is set out like this, going across and down where you can enter your information. You can have your design view, which is how we had it before when we were creating it and show the properties. So that is the design view. And the data sheet view, which I call the table view, same thing, is how we can enter the information into it, right? So that's the admissions table, you can have the payments table, and you have the personal info table, right? And it's the 3 of them beside each other. You can use them one at a time if you want, or you can put them all together, all of them, right? Just whatever you do, don't get them mixed up, right? So let's start with the personal info table. So I need to put in all my 30 information into this. So for the personal info table, I am starting with ID number, then title, first name, last name. So I'm starting with the ID number. I have to start with the ID number because that is the key field. Remember I said the key field? So I can't start entering anything else until I enter the ID number. So you can do this one out of 2 ways. You can do it one by one, put in the ID number one by one, put in the title and the first name, then the last name going across, and then we go down to the next row as you go, or you can copy over the information from Excel. Because remember, you're supposed to have this information already, right? So for the personal information table that I'm currently in, I need the ID number. So I can go over here. Remember, I have all the information here, and I can just copy over some of this information. Remember, your ID number is supposed to be part of it, supposed to have the initial. So the first name of the first initial for the first name, first initial for the last name, followed by a 3-digit number. So that's how come I have KB, because it's KB. Alright? So you can see Rachel Brown will be RB and then any 3-digit number. Alright? So I'm going to copy these numbers, ID numbers, copy, and I'm going to click on the heading, the field name up here. Just click on it. Can right click, don't do that. Oh. Right click on it and then paste. And it's going to bring in all of them, and it's going to ask to verify you are about to paste 20 records. Are you sure? If you are sure that these are the 20 records that you want, then you can say yes. Alright, let me do a next one so that you see what I did. Let's try to copy the first names. So these are my first names. Copy. Go over here, son. Click on the first name. Right click with your mouse and paste. And pretty much that's what I'm going to be doing, repeating over and over and over for the last name, for the address, for all of this, for the payment. So well, let me just do this quickly again so that you get it. So for the ID, copy the ID, and then I can just go to the payments table and paste that same time. You can go to the admissions table and paste that as well, same time. Right? So I just need to now go through each one of these one by one and copy it from where I have it. So if this is the address information, copy it from here. If it's the accounting information or the other set of information, I'm going to copy it from the main sheet. So when I'm finished, I'm supposed to have all of the information in this table, all of the information in this table, and all of the information in this table. Alright, so I'm just going to do a quick pause while I do that, and then I will. Alright, good. So here we go. So we're back. Right? So here I have put in all of the information in the 3 tables. So the personal information, Mr., Mrs., or Doctor, whatever the title is, the same names from my spreadsheet, the address that I inserted before. For my payments table, I put in the information for all my expenses, my insurance, my coverage, total amount to be paid. Payment method can be cash, credit, or debit card, that kind of information. And for the admissions table, I put in the amount of days, the symptoms, where they will be staying, if it's intensive care or isolation, and I put in another one for the number of symptoms, right? So you're supposed to have all of these fields for your admissions, all of these fields for your table, for your payments, and all of these fields for your personal information, which will give you 3 tables right here. All right. So once you have them on the side here, so as I say, you can just open it and look through it or enter your information. So when you're through with all of these 3 tables here, so and you have them completed, bear in mind I left off some parts. So for example, like for me, for the personal info table, telephone number, email, I left that out because I'm not doing an SB, so I can't bother put in all that information. But you have to put in all of that information, right? I know some of you already have that in your spreadsheet because some of you added that as part of your spreadsheet already. If you didn't, then you need to put If you did, then you can just copy and paste it here. So if you didn't, then you need to put it in. All right. So here we can see we have patient ID for everybody with the same ID numbers for everybody because it's the same set of information. All right. And once you have that, then you're good. So once you have that, all of that filled out, you can close these, and then you're going to create what is called a relationship, which is what I was talking to you about before. So go to your database tool, go to your relationships, and here you're going to drag and drop. So you can just, all right, this was double click all three tables and close. All right. So here you have all three tables set out with the IDs that you had in them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to basically drag and drop. So I want to link this ID with this ID with this ID, just like I always spoke about in the previous video. So I'm just going to click this ID number, click and drop to ID number. So this will come up as a confirmation. It's asking me if I want to connect the admissions table ID number with the payments table ID number. Yes, I want to create that. Then you will see a line from one to the other one. Let me do that again. So now I want to create this ID number to this ID number. Same information comes up to verify. It's asking me if the table, payment table ID and the personal info ID, if I want to link them. Yes, I want to create them. Alright. So now we have all three connected. As you can see, it's literally connected. So if I move it anywhere, it's always going to remain connected. Alright. So this way now, when I'm ready to create my queries and my report, I shouldn't have a problem. It's just going to go through smooth. Right? So I can just close this. It's going to ask me, do you want to save this? Yes, I do. So even if I go back again, I can go back on it. It's always going to be there. Alright, so I can just go back to my home. Make sure that, go again, check and make sure that you have everything in here completed. And once you have that, then you can move on to the next video.